Hello everybody, John12 back here again with another video, and I'm here with another review for Supergirl. Yes, I'm here to review Supergirl Episode 2, titled Stronger Together. Now, of course, if you haven't seen this episode, please go check it out, because this review may contain spoilers. But that being said, let's get into TV's #1 TV show, apparently. Supergirl... Continuing the story that we got from the pilot, obviously Kara has become self-aware. She's very public to the world. She's become National City's new superhero, taking the mantle that Superman has kind of left for her. And pretty much she's starting to realize her status within National City and trying to really develop herself as a new superhero outside of the shadow of Superman, and obviously try to learn her powers along the way. And on top of that, in great freaking Greg Berlanti fashion, it's another episode of the week. So of course, amongst the many episodes that we'll get from villains coming from that godforsaken alien jail prison thing, we're just going to continuously get overpowered freaking aliens from another world attacking Earth, and Supergirl vice versa. But that being said, overall, this episode is freaking awesome. I can't lie. I love the pilot. I loved it more than with following viewings of it. I mean, when I first saw it the first time, I liked it a lot, but there was a lot of things I wasn't big on, like the TV cheesiness of it. Like, the best way I can put it is that CBS's Supergirl is the most CW superhero TV show that's not on CW. Like, that's kind of how the show came off. However, after watching it multiple viewings, it just gets better and better and better, and you just love it more and more. Yeah, it still has its cheesiness, it still has its kind of weird TV moments, and, you know, some kind of weird things that don't, you know, the very Greg Berlanti isms that you get from, like, The Flash and Arrow and so on and so forth. However, it just works for Supergirl and the specific TV show universe. Moving off of that, the freaking opening is badass. You know, you have Supergirl out in the day, just trying to learn her powers, her abilities, and those moments are, I think, my personal favorite. Another real big thing is the fighting. The action really kicks it up a notch. She's fighting a whole bunch of people. She's training. She's trying to control her powers. That's kind of the main point of view of this episode, is Supergirl Kara. She's trying to understand her abilities fully if she's going to continuously help out this secret organization capture these prisoner, freaking alien prisoners or whatever. So that's kind of like the point of view that you're trying to get here, and I think it works to their advantage. I mean, there's sequences where she's very Superman-esque in the terms of she's just standing very stoically and heroically, and just the moments where she just has her arms crossed and looks, you know, very happy, and just, you know, she's a hero. It makes you feel better. It's just so good. It's just fun to watch. It's just... I said it once, and I'll say it again. Melissa Benoist is phenomenal in the role of Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl. She is the best part of this show. Every time she's on screen, you'll love her. Whenever she's not off screen, you hate it because you want to see more of her. She's just so fantastic as Supergirl. She kills it. She killed in the game. She's, hands down, as of right now, she's become my new favorite superhero. I mean, even more than Grant Gustin's Flash. And I love Grant Gustin's Flash, but Melissa Benoist brought her A-game, and the way CBS decided to approach her character was awesome. You can definitely tell, like I stated with the pilot, you can tell that CBS put a lot of money invested in this specific series. Like, every episode has like a very big, over-the-top moment. And even though it has its TV budget, it feels almost like it has a movie budget. Like, the fight sequences are freaking A+. The sequence with the ship is an A+. I mean, like, it was really badass how they did a lot of the effects. And it was just really cool to see Supergirl do more things outside of save planes. Because we've seen that before. We've seen Superman and other super characters, you know, pick up planes and fuck around with them. We've seen that before. I mean, like, Superman Returns did it to death. You don't have to do it ever again. But this time, we got a whole bunch of other stuff, which was really cool. And plus, evil Kryptonians. We got to see some evil Kryptonians do some crazy shit, which was very crazy. I found it kind of funny how CBS and the creators and writers of this show decided how to basically pictograph the evil Kryptonians of the show. They felt very Richard Donnery kind of evil Kryptonians, like the evil, the evil twin sister kind of Kryptonian aunt of Kara. I forget her name, but she has a very General Zod kind of feel. You have the other Kryptonians are just flunkies, so who cares about them? It's just, in their outfits, obviously, are kind of a throwback to that. It's just very Richard Donnery. I like how this show did a great mix of like the Richard Donnery, Christopher Reeve kind of Superman with the Zack Snyder kind of Henry Cavill Superman. I think it was a good mixture because like the sequences, you can definitely see where they took a lot of inspirations from those kind of universes. It has the very spit curly kind of goofy, campy, lightheartedness of like the Christopher Reeve Superman, but at the same time, you have some of that serious tone, that kind of like grounded, realistic kind of tone that you get with the Zack Snyder Man of Steel kind of feel. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like those moments where you see her like break the sound barrier and everybody like starts freaking out, it had a very Man of Steel kind of feel to it, and I like that. I like how they're just mashing just the Superman mythos, like the mythology, the universes, into this one show. And plus, references amongst references. There are so many Superman references, you start to get sick of it. Now, granted, I understand why it is a Superman spin-off kind of a character, so I get why they did it. And plus, the fact that they introduced that Superman exists in this universe, it just helps your station to just consistently say, hey, that guy that you really liked so much, the really good-looking dude who's Henry Cavill, he lives in our universe. I mean, not technically, but kind of, sort of. So I understand where they're coming from, and I enjoy it from time to time. However, it does tend to get a little too much. We also got to see a quick little cameo of Maxwell Lord, pretty cool. I like the actor that they casted for him, so that was pretty awesome. The villain of the week, I could have done without him. He felt like a Blade ripoff, but regardless of the imagery, overall, he just wasn't really up to par. Another real big thing that I have a problem with when it comes to the Greg Berlanti DC TV shows is the villains. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I love Ra's al Ghul and Manu Bennett, how he got me into the fucking CW universe. However, I feel kind of weird how the CW and the CBS villains seem to be kind of dumb in the stance of like how they don't personally handle their shit. I mean, like, granted, they kind of got to that in this episode, which I think was a far superior way to do it, the way the CW's been doing it. But it's just kind of weird how they don't really approach things with full throttle. Like, you have the evil twin sister, you got the fucking Damien Dark, you got Zoom, and none of them really attack the main protagonist at any point. I mean, granted, this episode completely destroys that theory, but for the main focus, it's like, you have the power to defeat them. Why are you continuously getting these, like, D-level villains to do it yourself? Do it for you. Like, why don't you just do it yourself? That's kind of a main problem I have with the Greg Berlanti villains. However, I think it was just a nice touch to finally have her there. And, of course, it opens up the big thing, which is the big boss fight. You have Kara's, foster sister try and take down freaking the alien. Then you have, the evil twin sister fucking take on Kara, and the fights were really awesome. Like, the final boss fights for this episode were on point. The only real thing I can pick apart or being kind of nitpicky towards the fighting styles and fight sequences of this episode and all of them, combining them, I feel like there's not really anyone who's really keeping Melissa on point. It feels like Melissa Benoist doesn't really get to do any training, and it kind of comes off very prevalent in the episode. Like, I think Kara has, like, she has various fights in this episode. In comparison to Pilot, she has a ton of fights, especially the big one in the end, and she doesn't really look like she has any kind of stunt coordinator fucking telling her anything. It's almost like she's someone in the background just saying, okay, now, punch that way, yeah, now do it again, but reverse. It's like, there's not really a coordinator telling this actress how to fight. That's kind of like the big problem I have, which I hope, and now granted, she is learning her abilities, but when you're doing fight sequences, at least have your actor somewhat trained in the fight sequences you're going to do, and that's kind of just the main problem I have with them. Like, the fights are really good, especially the training sequence. Like, that was a good fucking sequence, and the final battle with the two Kryptonians, that was pretty badass. like maybe not to the point of like Man of Steel destruction kind of badass, but still badass none the point for a TV budget. And Melissa Benoist doesn't look like she's ever taken any class in martial arts or fighting or anything like that. It's just kind of weird, but I hope they kind of teach her how to do something over the course of this series. Another real cool factor in this episode was the Jimmy Olsen stuff. Now, granted, and also the supporting cast. Now, when I was reviewing the pilot, I did give the supporting cast some slack. I did give them some flack, rather. You know, I wasn't really big on them. I felt like they were just unnecessary, and I still kind of feel that way. Like I said in the beginning of this review, like when Melissa Benoist is not on screen and you have other characters doing stuff, you just don't care. You just want to see Melissa Benoist do something super. However, this episode, they definitely fixed up a few things. Like, Jimmy Olsen definitely has more interesting things to say. The other characters definitely feel more fun and entertaining to watch, along with Kara. So, they definitely fixed a lot of things. I'm still not on board with them, but I definitely feel a little bit better watching them. Especially Jimmy Olsen, because I had a huge problem with Jimmy Olsen in the pilot. Not because of the race change. I know a lot of people can get iffy with comic book race changes. That doesn't bother me. The only thing that really bothers me is that the actor, he's just too cool. Like, he's too smooth and he's just too suave and cool for Jimmy Olsen. I mean, that's just not Jimmy Olsen. However, I will agree and point out that when Jimmy Olsen is having his conversation with Kara at the end of this episode, I will admit that it was really nice to hear his insight on the whole situation. It was almost like they were being self-aware with the fact that the writers knew that they made Jimmy Olsen so cool, so they wanted to ground him a little bit more, and I like that. Like, there's spoilers, but there's like a conversation where he's just talking to Kara, and he's talking about his past, where it's just like, you know, back in the day, I was just this goofy kid who didn't know what he was doing, and I just wanted to make my name known, and then the second I freaking started hanging out with Superman, everybody knew my name, you know, and I like that. It kind of explained in a short, productive way of how Jimmy Olsen is important for this show, where it's like the reason why he's here is not to, you know, obviously continue to ride the coattails of Superman, or Superman's popularity, if you will, on live action. It's because he's trying to escape the coattails of Superman. He knows that everyone only cares about him because he knows Superman. Like, hell, Cat Grant pretty much says that flat out in the episode, where she's just like, the only real reason we have you around is because you have your besties with fucking the Man of Steel. We understand that, you know Big Blue. So I really liked his conversation. I still feel that the actor is just too cool. He's too cool for school. That's like the best example I can give it. But hopefully, but I really liked his conversation, and hopefully he has some more interesting things to do as the series progresses. But overall, final verdict-wise, this episode was the shit. I loved it. Supergirl is, I said it with the pilot, this show has promise, and it's definitely giving us big promises, and we're receiving them, and they're just delivering them. They're killing it. Supergirl is just getting better and better. It's having a very high train, and it's just awesome to watch. And I love this episode. I'm gonna give it a solid, God, I don't even know. I want to give it a 9, but I feel like that's a little too high. So, you know what? I'm going to give it like a 8.5. Mostly due to the fact that I still feel that the supporting cast isn't up to par yet with Melissa Benoist's performance. And also the cheesiness. I felt like the TV isms and the Greg Berlanti isms were a little too much. However, the episode killed it. It was a great episode, solid episode to follow up with the pilot. Direction was great, music was nice, effects were amazing, the fight sequences were great. Just need to tweak Melissa Benoist's stuff a little bit more, but overall she was great. The character's awesome. I mean, Kryptonite Knife, that was pretty badass. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that act of the dude character, the director, if you will. However, I have to admit that Kryptonite Knife was pretty badass when he's just, when he just stabs the fucking chick in the arm. That was pretty badass. Although it does open the question, which is, how is it possible that this freaking little secret society has so much access to kryptonite? That's the big question I want to know, which is, they got kryptonite, darts, they got kryptonite knives, they got kryptonite handcuffs, they have a room with kryptonite. What else they got? They got kryptonite guns, machine guns and shit, flamethrowers. What else? It's fucking crazy. I mean, like, the only thing left is fucking kryptonite arrows, which I'm pretty sure they're going to save for the crossovers with fucking Arrow and Flash. It's going to get crazy. So, final verdict, 8.5. Now that I pointed out with the Arrow crossover, that also kind of opens up the big question that a lot of people have been asking themselves since the premiere of this series, which is, will we be seeing any crossovers with this universe, with the existing DC TV universe, or even the DC extended universe? Now, granted, I would love to see Henry Cavill show up on the show, but I don't really see that happening anytime soon or at all. I'm pretty sure Superman will never show up on this show, and I'm pretty sure that even the producers actually said that he's not going to show up, so there's that. Now, with the crossovers with Arrow and Flash, I would also love to see that. I mean, like, I would love nothing more than Melissa Benoist in the Supergirl costume just dive right into Flash and Arrowverse and just show them what it means to be a real fucking superhero. Like, show the guys what's up. I would love that. Nothing more. However, it just opens up a big problem because it's just like, now that you have her in that universe, it kind of just makes the other characters useless. Like, Flash and Arrow are cool because, you know, they're important in their universe. But when you throw in Supergirl, it's like, they're kind of pointless. Like, fuck them. It's whatever. And on top of that, it also creates the even more bigger question and big problem, which is, now Superman technically exists in the Arrowverse, which is like, what the fuck? I mean, like, it just opens up way too many problems. So, right now, I feel like it's good that they're keeping them separate. Maybe with a season 2 of Supergirl, maybe you can open up that thing. Like, I feel like now that multiverse is a thing in the Flashverse, like, I feel like you can plant seeds. Like, in season 2 of Flash, plant some seeds. Like, say something like, oh, National City something kind of reference. Or, you know, flying, you know, superheroes kind of reference. Somewhere in there. And then maybe with a season 3 Flash or, like, a season 2 Supergirl, maybe do some crossovers. But we'll just have to wait and see. Predictions. Let me know your predictions. But that being said, overall, I love the episode. It was a hell of a lot of fun. I love Melissa Benoist again. She's just phenomenal. I fucking bow beneath the ground she walks on. Fucking awesome. She's great. Perfect choice as Supergirl. Would I love to see other characters show up? Fuck yeah. Henry Cavill, of course. Come on. But, you know, it's never gonna happen. But the fight's awesome. Everything about this episode was just great. I love this I love this series. It's surprisingly enough has taken the place of my number one favorite comic book superhero TV show as of now. It's just so freaking great. I'm probably overhyping it, which is unnecessary, but it's kind of true. I mean, like, if you disagree, check out the show, because maybe you're not seeing the same thing I'm seeing. But that being said, overall, comment below. Let me know what you personally think about this episode. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you think there's way too much Krypton in that social society? And of course, do you think we'll ever see Superman on the show for realsies? And also, Arrow Flash crossover anytime? Let me know your personal thoughts on that. And of course, the future of the evil Kryptonians and what they have planned for Kara and the rest of planet Earth. Let me know your predictions on that. And of course, what's up with the dude with the glowing red eyes? I don't know what that's all about. Let me know what you personally think about that also in the comment section below. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Johnch12. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And this has been Johnch12.